Hey, welcome. Good Friday morning, the last Friday in May. May's just whipped right by. This is the Good Morning Show for those watching online or listening on our Mixcloud site. Welcome. We have two guests today, great people, both Reiki practitioners. So we're going to feel the energy, baby. Rose Weinberg in the brown top, I think. From my vantage point, it looks like a brown top. She's the woman behind Wellness Works, and Wellness Works was created and designed by Chief Executive Sage Rose Weinberg. For the past 20 years, Rose has created attainable and sustainable wellness for her family, friends, and clients well beyond the treatment room. Rose is a wellness developer, author, speaker, registered homeopath, um, holistic nutritionist, Reiki master and educator, and she began her career in marketing, business, and graphic design, and continues to put these skills in her life as a socially conscious healer and wellness entrepreneur. Welcome to you, Rose.
Thank you,
And
David.
up top in a black top with white thingies is my good friend Rachael Thompson. Rachel's on an MA. She's also a Reiki master and a certified yoga instructor. Rachel didn't grow up with hippie parents like one would imagine just by that description, who force fed her metaphysical mumbo jumbo back in the 70s. She didn't fall back on energy healing because it seemed like an easy way to help people. She didn't turn to Reiki in replacement to a college degree, although she wishes she had. She actually graduated from one of the top schools with a master's in clinical mental health counseling. And in fact, she took a course in undergrad called The Psychology of Disbelief that was designed to prove why practices like energy healing and Reiki were nothing more than a placebo effect. Go figure. Yet, with all the education, Rachel struggled. She had struggled with some severe anxiety, feeling unfulfilled in the work and in life, which a lot of us are going through right now, and have been for probably years. And then she had a ton of questions that neither religion nor conventional Western teachings could answer. So what did she do? She worked her 9 to 5 job, lived solely for the weekends, and that just had hope that one day things would make sense. She never knew what Reiki was until about 5 years ago when a random girl told her about Reiki in a bar, because all good stories begin in a bar, right? So that's Rachel Thompson. So here we are. I was kind of looking at the calendar. I got up a calendar here and then one over there with Vlad Guerrero of the Toronto Blue Jays. Um, and we're into now month 3 of this.
Mm.
Monday is June 1st, right? Third month of isolating and distancing. Some say things will never be the same. It won't go back to the way it was. What's your take, Rachel?
I agree with that, but I also don't, none of us know what lies ahead. So we're all in this place of incredible unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're seeing that in just the conventional society with, people trying to gauge if they should wear a mask, if they shouldn't, how they're going to open up businesses, what they're going to open up, the rules and the regulations. Where that's the conventional society. The more metaphysical society has a lot of questions too about what this really looks like in terms of this spiritual ascension or spiritual awakening. So yes, I don't think it's going to go back, but right now it's a big unknown.
Yeah, you're right. So there is this sort of thing of a spiritual awakening happening. Um, Rose, in your work, your circles, are you hearing a lot about that?
Oh, oh yeah, absolutely.
What are you
You know,
noticing?
to add to what Rachel's saying, part of it is, the new norm. We don't know nothing that's ever happened and transformed human race. Have we ever gone back? Because everything is about going forward. But like Rachel says, it's all so unknown. So between family, friends, and work related clients and things like that, everybody's in the same boat, and they're every country, every human being, we don't know. we don't know. There's a like an undercurrent, I think, from the spiritual side of things, the way I look at it, that there's an excitement, because that's okay, right? That there's change. And then there's the human side that I call it, like these, the mainstream element of all the news and all this, and every day they're coming up with something else, so there's a new rule. But I'm with Rachael, like people are saying, like, so now that they've opened up a few businesses, can we go there? Should we go there? And that's kind of the new norm right now. Like, what are we supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
I actually was just reading an article on, when, it's funny, I just searched, like, when can I hold my new grandson? Okay. But it isn't about, like, when. It's like, it's more about, yes, we still need to do the social distancing. And I feel like if I'm doing my part by being socially distant and doing everything I need to do, then I'm helping out others, because then I'm not hopefully gathering anything to spread. And then you hope that others are doing the same, right? Mm. So it's kind of remarkable when you're feeling really aligned. It's kind of remarkable what we're going through, that we're all doing this. But then when you don't feel aligned and the anxiety and the fear comes in, it's a whole other story, right? It's wonky. So.
It is wonky.
Yeah.
Talking about wonky, Rachael, I don't know about you, but I was wonky the first week or two. How have you shifted and changed, your wonkiness throughout this?
Well, if you had asked me an hour ago, I probably would have had a different answer. And if you ask me an hour from now, I probably would have a different answer.
So is your wonkiness like up and down like that?
It just shifts. I feel like never before in my experience. And like Rose had mentioned, just talking to like clients and different people in this community, I'm hearing the same stuff. It's not, it's happening so quickly. The shifting within us is happening so quickly. But again, we don't really know what a lot of it means. So for myself, I've been just trying to be very aware and holding space for myself. So allow myself, if I want to cry, then I cry. There's been several times that I've just cried and I have no idea why I'm crying, but I must need to. Something's releasing. And so it's holding that space for myself and flowing with the energy. And like Rose had said about, whenever you're aligned, then it feels right. You feel the direction that we're heading, but as soon as you sink into that anxiety and that fear, that's when things get real wonky. So I've really been trying to also be aware of where that voice is coming from, and if it's coming from fear or if it's coming from intuition, and being very diligent about staying with practices such as meditation and contemplation that allow me to tune into my intuition, especially during times when I'm fearful, because fear and energy builds momentum. Fear seeks more fear. So once you get in that fear state, and I've noticed this for myself, once I get in the fear state, then I'll look for things that will create more fear. And it builds. So it's noticing it, being aware of it, holding space for myself, forgiving myself for getting stuck in that space, but then, just kind of switching and doing something that brings me more back to my center.
Yeah. And Rose, are you advising your clients to do the same? Like, what are you seeing in those that you're working with? Are they going through that too? Because
absolutely,
Rachael, I went through this a real downward spiral about 3 weeks ago, and I just there's a part of me that I want to build my business up, but I had to go through that. And so I just allowed myself to be lazy and sleep and not cry, but just be emotional that week, and just allowed for that to happen. What do you see in your clients, and how are you sort of guiding them through?
Yeah, really.
And even in your own process.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the way I would describe it is basically exactly what Rachel's saying. Like, there's the moments where you're feeling that, like I mentioned before, that alignment, and then the next thing you know, you're feeling wonky. And so when you're doing the type of work that I do, or just now who I am today, what I share with my clients is really, it's about being, right? And it isn't anything different I wouldn't have done a year ago or 5 years ago, but it's like this HD version of it now, this consciousness. So for me, when I started Wellness Works 2.5 years ago, I really kind of put it out there that we're consciously connecting you with wellness providers and services and different opportunities in the wellness world that we know can help people. But now that word consciousness is so clear, because when I'm feeling wonky or a client's feeling wonky, they'll tell me it's like, there's this awareness that's ginormous. And I'm like, that's you being conscious that it's okay to be there. And then maybe you're even conscious more now, knowing in 5 minutes it could be gone, in 3 days it could be gone. And that's okay. So it's basically, I'm reiterating what you're saying, but I'm just noticing, and for me too, it's like, wow. And I was always a wow person, but now it's ginormous. Everything is so elaborate, I don't want to say, but I'm very conscious of it. And that's what we really do. We talk more about just being, but I think people are getting that. I think they are more than before, because before you were busier. So you had a minute to think about your meditation, or what do I have to do today to breathe and go and then get to work. And now traffic is good and this is good and that's good. And you're not going anywhere. It's like, oh, I'm really enjoying folding laundry right now, right? Or cooking, or just doing something that we would have rushed through before. So yeah. I think that's really opening up that conscious level of awareness.
You know what? Yeah. And what the other thing I see opening up is our emotions are opening up. Like what happened the other day? I find COVID, and Rachel, maybe you can talk to this. Like, I find COVID-19 is just exposing everything that was wrong with society. like they say, like, don't have a child if you've got a weak marriage, because it's just going to expose the cracks. And that's what I feel is happening. Like what are some ills of society that are being exposed that you'd like to see healed yourself? Like, what are 1 to 2 issues you'd like to see mended that we maybe need to work on collectively?
That's a diffificult question. All of them? Is there a D, all of the above option?
Yeah. I didn't offer that.
Yeah.
So all of the above. Funny. I mean, yeah. So.
So something that I've actually just started doing this week is when I experience something, either that I see on the outside that is dissonant from how I feel our truth is, that doesn't align with where I believe we're going. If I see something on the outside, or if I experience something within myself, like a self-judgment or a fear, what I've been doing this past week is setting the intention that it heals in the collective. So I'm using everything that I'm feeling as just, I'm one piece of the whole. And so if I experience it, I'm not the only person. Or if I witness it, I'm not the only person. And so instead of trying to place a judgment on this is good or this is bad, I use my feelings to indicate what aligns and what doesn't. And I set the intention to heal it in the collective. And so I just wanted to share that, because it's been very, it just felt right for me to do this week. So I wanted to share it for anybody else who might want to add to that, that global meditation that we did on April 4th. I mean, just had a huge impact. And so a lot of us are going on this personal shift, but we're all part of this collective. We're all part of this one. And it can feel very isolating, and we can feel very apart from things. But I think bringing ourselves back to that we are a piece of this, and we hold a lot of power. And the more people that are focusing on the healing and the shifting, and just sending just a thought of healing, or the energy of love to something, and then letting go of it, I feel like that's how we'll heal. And I do think everything's being brought to light. And there's going to be a lot of systems that are crumbling. And we're just going to have to see how that goes.
I know. And it might not be pretty. Like, Rose, I know you don't like the ugliness. But yesterday we saw police brutality in Minnesota with you know George oh man Floyd, right? And then seniors care issues popped up here in Ontario yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, um,
We had a shooting in
what do you feel is
Toronto
on the
too.
flip
And
side of this, though, like
yeah.
as horrific as they are, what's on the flip side? Because there's always some good that comes out of the bad. So
I wonder if you guys have noticed the flip side, because I wonder if you've noticed something, the flip side of kindness. So where, and I'm not, again, trying to just bring this into a good place in light, that if we had a ton of people together, you would kind of look into the crowd and you could see a few people. They must be kind. They have a kind smile. They have kind eyes. But I'm noticing more of that. So now if I look into a crowd, I see more kindness, and then the odd, they haven't quite shifted yet sort of look. And I think, like, I love what you said, Rachael, about doing when you're in your place and you need to open up and allow it to go through in a consciousness. Because have you felt, sometimes I'm going through something and all of a sudden I'll feel like there's someone from another country, like different countries are coming up. So I really connect, like I have this really great sensation right now in my system, feeling that that's really a collective energy that you've tapped into as well, and voiced. And I think if people think about that, whatever they're doing, taking that moment, taking that breath, or whatever they're doing, and really, know that everybody's, I think whatever's going, I kind of feel very passionate about this. Whatever's going on, every human being in the world is going through something with this. That makes sense.
So
okay.
But what about those two incidences that I mentioned?
Well, but they're going to show up. They were showing up before. Did you notice? Now, I'm not a big news follower, but I do glimpse every day to keep up. And what I noticed, the shift in the news about a week and a half ago, was it wasn't all COVID news. So now we're seeing COVID news and a little bit of crappy news and maybe a little bit of good news. So something is, I know this is strange, but then it's not all focused in the COVID-19 era. We're already like kind of shifting out. The crappy stuff's going to happen, and it's horrible. And yes, like you say, David, it bothers me that it's out there, but it is going to happen. But if it's taking precedent over saying how many people died from COVID today, it's not a juggling act, and one isn't better than the other. But it's changing the conversation a little bit. I don't know how else to put it right now. Like,
well,
it forward.
That's the thing. I mean, it's so. This whole thing is it's totally taken over the conversation. Even
yes, everywhere you go.
Yeah, right? Everywhere. And
everywhere.
Commercials I see on TV are now, related to what's going on now. And,
like
Lean on Me is one commercial. Forget who it's for, but they're playing that Lean on Me song.
Yes.
And it's all the time, and it's just being drummed into our head, and and that concerns me a little bit, because they say, like, what you say, and Rose, you did Landmark, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. What you say, you create.
Yep. Yeah.
So what's your take on that, Rachael? I think we need to start changing the conversation.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're creating our realities by what we focus on and what we speak into existence. And if you follow any of like the spirituality ascension teachings, we're supposedly moving from the third dimension to the fifth dimension. And so if you look at that in the terms of the chakras or the energy systems in the bodies, we would be moving from the solar plexus up to the throat. So I feel like our words, and the words we speak out loud, but also the words we say to ourselves, and sound is going to become a lot more powerful. And so yeah, I do feel that if we're really wanting to shift within ourselves, our own little realities, but then also collectively being conscious of the words that we use and creating with those words the reality that we want rather than reinforcing a reality that we don't want.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. Rose, what's your
That's
take
really
on
great.
that?
That's
You know,
really great.
it's even your, positive affirmations. And,
Yes.
you hear
Yes.
people, making a mistake at something and they go, oh, I'm such an idiot. It's like,
Yeah.
no, stop saying that.
Can I tell you a quick
Yeah,
funny story on this? So I had to run out and do some food shopping for myself and for my mother this morning. I'm masked up, I'm gloved up, and I forgot something. So I left everything at the checkout and I'm running to the eggs. Okay. I'm running. And then now consciously, every time I get to an end of an aisle, I stop and I do this, right? So I'm running, I stop and I go, ah! And then there's a lady there with a cart. She goes, ah! We both scared the crap out of each other. And she said that. She said, you scared that out of me, right? I said, I am so sorry. And she said, oh, it's okay. And we had this great conversation about have a great day, enjoy what you're doing, have fun shopping here, hope you get everything. All of a sudden it turned into like a fantastic conversation, right? So, and it was, and I don't know, I started laughing my head off because this is what's going on. There's collisions, but we're colliding with goodness, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I talk to everybody when I go out, so I still have, even though I have my mask on, I have a smile on my face. And I really do try to change the topic. I've always done that when news comes up, but now it's like everything. Then, remember there was like an old joke, it used to be someone would say something nasty or not good, and you go, oh, what about those Blue Jays? Or, right? So I've always been kind of that person. But now I find I'm getting caught up in the conversation. And then I want to end it with something really love and light, like really like not just have a great day, but sending you hugs and kisses, like go crazy, virtual, whatever, right?
Yeah.
To just really blossom that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was really funny this morning.
I love it. Rachel,
Yeah.
what's your sense? Do you feel that, among your peers that there's going to be a time soon where, people are going to begin to work more collectively together to really heal the planet?
Yes, I do. I do. And like Rose was talking about, it's almost like when this first started, there was a huge division. Everybody was looking at other people like, or don't like get away from me. You could have the virus. Like, it was very just cold and just heavy. But now I feel like people smile at each other. And like I had to go to CVS, and even though the cashier and there's a sheet between us, and she can't touch what I have, and I'm having to use the little scanner thing, like we're still joking, which I didn't have that experience as much before this. So I do feel like we are seeing a shift. There's a camaraderie, there's a community that was built because every single one of us went through the same thing together in different ways, but the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I do feel like that has very much brought us together, and I'm interested to see how it continues.
It's like going for a walk 8 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, you were serpentining, you were going around and around. Now it's like you're going and you're walking, good morning, but you're still, everybody's kind of giving the way, and that's okay, right?
Yeah. I know that too in my area. Yeah. People are kind of standoffish in my area, and they won't say good morning on a normal day. Now, yesterday I had 2 good mornings. It was like perfect.
That's great.
And I've been doing a track walk at my old high school in the morning. Like this morning I was there at 6:20. People weren't really friendly, I think because it was early and they were running and focused. But the other day they were a lot, people were saying, hi, how are you?
Yeah, well, it's great.
Well, one of the things that's been exposed is in our health sector, and actually, and health and wellness during this time. But, a couple of things. There's no hallway medicine happening anymore, because nobody's really at the hospital.
Right.
And doctors are doing phone calls, not house calls.
Yep.
So where do you see health and wellness going moving
That's such a great question. The virtual care, it's funny because, you know, the virtual care has been around, and the cannabis community, when things started opening up a year and a half ago, doctors were using that to do prescriptions. And I know I'm speaking only from what I know in the US, that became a bigger, you know, venue for medical doctors. And then it was here in Canada a little bit, certain clinics. But now, isn't it amazing that a doctor can actually go back to the old fashioned, you know, a phone call or a virtual call for a conversation with their patient? So how do I see that, let's say in the realm that you know I'm working in, is that's all I've been doing, right, is virtual care and phone calls. And I'm seeing that our platform is growing in that capacity, even into the corporate world, because that's the world that we want to work in, where the person sitting, you know, at work and having a moment needs to speak to a therapist or have some Reiki done, or, you know, do a little meditation. They'll be able to contact somebody right from their phone or their computer, and have that virtual care, and you don't have to drive. And that was actually I had this vision 3 years ago, May, exactly that vision, that everything was going to be this. Who knew, right?
Yeah.
And here we are, we're in it. We are totally in it. And it's not, it hasn't been a challenge. I even know my mother had to speak to a specialist just as a follow-up. And she's like, Rose, you got to take me to the doctor. And I says, Mom, you're not going to a doctor right now. Thank God you don't need to. And next thing you know, the staff contacted her and said, the doctor will be calling you at 2:00 on this day. And she's like, a phone call from a doctor? I mean, she knows that from way back. And look at that. And I wonder how, I do have some doctor associates, and I want to contact them and ask them how they're feeling. I know there's a lot of stress, but are they feeling okay with making that call and not necessarily being in the same place with that?
Right.
How do you feel? Like, can I, like Rachael, like, are you seeing,
practice too?
yeah, I just want to know, like, how are you experiencing this with clients?
So it's interesting because I always have done distance Reiki. I have clients all over the world, which is really cool. But I had an in-person practice, and the in-person practice, when people go and get Reiki in person, they don't quite understand how you can do it at a distance or how it works virtually. So my distance clients were very much clients who already had an understanding of energy and how it worked. But my in-person clients, they, after, you know, a little while not being able to get Reiki, they're like, okay, I'll try distance Reiki. And I've had so many cool responses like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that would be so powerful. Like, people are kind of pushing past some of their old belief systems, trying something new and seeing that it works really well. So there's really no need for.
Exactly. And that was the response that that I've been getting. Like, I didn't know this could work like this. I feel just as good as if we were in person. And I, as well, over the last 3-4 years, a lot of phone call or a lot of virtual care. And maybe that's why I saw the vision. And I think it's okay. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. You know, I'm enjoying not the pressure of the traffic. I'm enjoying that, that even the client doesn't come in with the same pressure from their drive to my office. Like, think about all those little pieces of this puzzle of putting people together, right?
Yeah. Well, it's so incredible because I didn't realize like how much just having to be in person could throw your day off. So if you get stuck in traffic and you're a little bit behind, then all your clients are behind. Or if a client gets stuck in traffic and they're a little, you know, and that creates stress and it creates pressure. And I have that, like, you don't have that when you do it at a distance. You take out all of these variables.
Yeah. You get your tea from your kitchen and you walk to your office, and they're doing the same thing, right? Yeah. And they're sitting there, like, I love it. They're just sitting there, like, waiting, and the you know, the virtual flare shows up, and they're just, oh, let's do it. right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's really great.
I always say I'll buy coffee.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
no,
but,
that's
but aren't we gonna miss that human connection down the road? Like we still need it, you know?
I feel pretty connected to both of you right now.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm saying absolutely, like, there is, and then we'll work out how it all works out. I actually just got a notification from my, the homeopathic college that I'm a member of, that we can do now some in person, if need be, um, appointments. I'm keeping it at a distance at this point, right? Because it just works that way, and it works well for my clients right now. But so that means that they're opening up practices a little bit here, a little bit there, like the brick and mortar practices are opening up.
Yeah. I saw my orthopedic surgeon in person last week.
Oh, you did? You got to go
Not
to the
X-rays.
office? Yeah.
Yeah, I was fine. Go in.
Well, they're prepared for it.
I trust him. He's not concerned. I'm not going to be concerned.
Well, that's it.
I want to look a little at mental health too, Rachel. This is going to be a big mess at the end of this, I think. I don't know. You know, COVID-19, I think it's going to turn out a ton of people with OCD. What are you seeing and hearing?
Yeah, they might have to put like a new diagnosis in the DSM too. Something COVID-19, distress, or it's
PSD, right? Is it PSD?
Yeah, PTSD.
Post, yeah.
COVID-19 PTSD.
PSDC. PSDC 19.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh my God.
It's not funny, but it's probably, they're probably thinking of it right now because we're thinking of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it's also, so a lot of people with undiagnosed mental health disorders, anxiety and depression, who used a lot of scapegoating, constantly staying busy, going out to bars, like whatever the scapegoating was, a lot of that has been taken away.
Yeah.
And the same with, family problems that weren't dealt with, and you just keep busy and you don't deal with them, and then you have to. And so a lot of our maybe the not so healthy coping mechanisms that we use as a society, like we all do it in some way or another, they were taken away from us. And so maybe it's not an emergence of a new mental health, but an understanding of something that was there, but was being denied and not recognized.
Wow. Rose, you're right into the mental health and with Wellness Works. What are your clients sharing with you? And what is it?
If they had fear of unknown before, it's exasperated now, right? The fear of what happens when I go out, right? Right? What's going to happen? Okay, fine. They maybe know how to go shopping, but how do you just go out and go back to work and get on a streetcar or take an Uber or whatever you need to do? It's interesting because my very past, I suffered from severe anxiety, panic attacks, and fears for years.
Right.
And a lot of that fear was if the world had a disease like this, like everything was about, it was very OCD because I was like a clean nut, and now it's back again in a different way, right? And it's interesting because people are going to, I think, and again, or I sense, because people are sharing with me, the exhaustion of leaving the home differently. So it was exhaustion before getting to work because of traffic, subway, whatever, transportation, let's say. But now it's, you got to glove up, mask up, spray yourself here, spray this, spray that. And then when you get there, you can unmask, unglove, and then you got to start all over again to go back, right? That's going to open up to a whole other realm of people feeling anxious. But it's interesting about the human race. So this is one of the big epiphanies that I've always had, but now this particular time in our lives. So how many times have people have said to me, and maybe Rachel, you can talk on this as well, have said to me, wow, you know what, that makes perfect sense. And then going forward, I'm going to do this and it's going to release that and it's going to be great. But humans love to go back deep into a thought and an idea, and this isn't good, and I was feeling so good yesterday, and tomorrow I'm not going to feel so good, you know, talking themselves. And I say that with a lot of love and light, right? So when we put together Wellness Works, thanks for having it up. When we put this together, it was really to accommodate physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness. If you lift it, yeah, thanks, David. If you lift this, if you look at that, so that because you might be feeling really great physically, a lot of people are doing like unbelievable online stuff, you know, working out, unbelievable opportunities with that, but maybe they're still not having the aha moments, or maybe mentally and emotionally. So for me, if I have an emotional release, it's like, oh, this is really cool, right? Because I'm in that world, not because only I work in it, but I live in it. But other people aren't going to have it. It's going to be, this is crazy. Everything is fine. Everything's around me, but I'm feeling so sad. And before, they had an excuse to be sad because they couldn't get to the subway, or something happened at work, or another person. So there's going to be a new way of helping people, but really goes back to basics again, right? Look at ourselves emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And that's a big thing with for homeopaths. That's how we help people, understanding every component of a person. And Reiki, we do that as well. So I think that all the new nows that are going to happen, it's going to be interesting. David, can we have a follow-up, the three of us, in 2 months?
Yeah,
Okay.
we should. Let's see where we're at then, you know, for sure. So are your clients are feeling it too, and
100%.
discussing it with you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to move into this 5D thing a little bit, not 5G, 5D. But before we do, let's look at the world of work and business moving forward. You know, like it's changing. People are pivoting. I was on a call the other day with Dr. Lance Secretan, and Rachael, I don't know if you know him, but he's a leadership expert. He's based in Canada, but he does a lot of work in the US as well. And he's written several books. One of my favorite books was his first one, which is called Reclaiming Higher Ground. And I just had him on this podcast a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, he does these half-hour leadership calls, and he's saying, you know, his business too. Like, he's got, you know, the crap knocked out of it, because he what does he do? He's a speaker, he's a consultant, he's an author, he's in person with people. My business too, like totally, like, you know, it's most of it's done in person. So where do you see kind of, you know, we really, I think there's some phrases that I'm getting tired of. One is social distancing. The other is we're all in it together. No, we're not. We're going through this, but not everybody's the same. And the other thing is, well, I got to pivot, you know. But where do you see, you know, work and business moving forward? Because you've done some meditations on YouTube where you're talking about the you know, being in the fifth dimensional, bringing it to you rather than you going to it.
So I feel like a lot of the stuff you spoke about originally, whenever you're talking about like the different businesses and how they look, is kind of like the 3D, what we're seeing manifested in this reality, because there's a lot of businesses that took a hit. Like, I know as part of like the yoga community, that's been huge for yoga studios. And that's just one part, you know, it's everybody and all different kinds of businesses.
Yeah.
But you know, the intuitions that I've been getting about the 5D is it's breaking through all these limiting beliefs. And I'll give a little disclaimer to anybody listening to this. What I'm about to say, like, it might trigger you a little bit, but it's something just to kind of explore what's triggering about it, because it's triggering an old belief. So the old belief is, I do X to get Y amount of dollars. And I have to do X. I have to work 50 hours a week, and I get my 2 weeks of vacation because I have to make the salary. And my salary is capped off at this because that's what it's capped off in my field. And, you know, like, when you look at it, when you take a higher ground and you look down at it, these are all limiting beliefs that have been programmed in us through generations. And if truly an old paradigm is falling away, then these are beliefs that are falling away. We are getting back to an ecosystem, I believe. And I don't know what that looks like time-wise. I don't know what that looks like for our lifetime, or if we're just the front runners and we're kind of setting it up for future generations. But an ecosystem has enough. You know, when you look at the jungle, everything is so beautiful and how it works together. And yeah, you know, animals have to eat other animals, but they don't do it in excess. They don't just kill an animal just to like bring more back to, you know, their little home or their cave or tree or wherever they stay. Like, it's a balance. And so I feel like the 5D energy is moving back into this ecosystem, and it's, to do so, you have to completely dismantle all of the beliefs that you have about yourself and just how society works. And so the meditations I've been putting out on YouTube, the 5D ones, have very much been like, I have an abundance one saying, completely forget everything that you know about receiving abundance and open yourself up to receive it. And just do that. And just know that you're going to be taken care of. And again, this might be triggering because it's not the way that we've lived. But if we are really going into this 5D, this is what I believe, you know, our needs are going to be met. We are understanding that we create our reality. We're understanding energy. And sorry, my dog has allergies if you hear him coughing.
Yeah, oh and the pollen report's been brought to you by...
They're pretty high in North Carolina. So it's not going to be like anything we've seen. You know, it's almost going back to, and you know, stuff we read about in ancient civilizations and the control of energy, but not in the control that we have known control to be, in that there's one person or one small group of people controlling everything. This is our individual empowerment to control and to manifest and to create what we want in our lives. And so it sounds out there, but I truly believe that's the energy that we're moving into. And it's cool. It's just setting the intention and allowing yourself to flow with it, and allowing the old. There's a whole matrix of belief systems that need to die away.
What's your take, Rose?
Yeah. I mean, I touched on this on chomping, but I everything you said, completely. I tell you, I don't know when it was, but it was a few years back, that everything I ever learned, even in the spiritual side of the changes for me, right? All of a sudden said, no, I got to let all that teaching go. First, I needed to let go of teachings like, you know, we learn from, God bless our parents and our society and our schools and things like that. I call them human rules, right? They're human rules. No, but they weren't made up by the universe. They're human rules. And today we're following human rules, but we're following it almost like pods a little bit. And I think that we're doing that because when we open up, we're going to recognize that not that we have to make our own rules, but that we can flow. I love that you said an ecosystem, that we can flow within a society, and anybody could be who they want to be at that moment without thinking past and without worrying forward, by just being, right? And it's interesting because I'll say this to my clients. Let's say it's a client I haven't seen in a while, and I'll say, do you remember we talked about this 3 years ago? And they'll go, yes. And I said, I may have shared this way. I'm going to share it a whole new way today. And if I was simplifying it then, it's I don't even know the word for it now, how it's done. Because I'm with you on that. And it might be a weird thing that people are going to open up to, but actually, I don't think they are. I actually think that the 5D is exactly where we're supposed to be. We even have 5G happening, right? And 5D happening, and which is an interesting way of how the humans will walk this planet, right?
And we're also opening up and questioning more too. There was an article in the Globe and Mail about that this week, and Rachael, that's a national paper here in Canada. It's got a real business and a bit of a right wing, I guess, maybe bent to it. And it was about, people are, more people are exploring conspiracy theories than ever before, and we're questioning, and so we are, like, I think things are opening up, and I think we are starting to question and dig a little deeper, so yeah, what are you seeing among your peers, as far as they're questioning what's going on right now?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of questioning, and there's a huge distrust.
Yeah.
Which I believe is good, because then we learn to trust ourselves. So we, like, going back to the conditioning, from the time that we're born, we look to somebody else to tell us what is right, what is wrong, what we need to do, who we are, what our value is. We've looked outside of us our entire lives. That's been our conditioning. That's been the conditioning that's been passed down. Now, nobody trusts those that used to tell us who we were and was supposed to give us the truth. Even those people who are very much still in the 3D and not spiritual at all, they don't trust. They don't trust the media. They don't trust, and so when you don't trust, then you have to go within, because who are you going to trust? When you can't trust anybody on the outside, then you have to learn to trust yourself. So,
yeah, and the media's always conditioned us that we're less than, and not thin enough, not good looking enough, not enough hair, whatever, whatever our lack is, that it sold us stuff around that. Couple of minutes left. We're with Rose Weinberg and Rachael Thompson, and we're just on Rachel's YouTube site, and there is the 5D reality creation meditation. Are we about to bring heaven on earth, Rose?
About to bring it?
Yeah.
It's here.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Because it's here. Anytime you're feeling that alignment, and I'm talking about that alignment that is just the most ideal you could possibly feel, that's exactly what you're in. Right? That's the existence that you're in. And I can't even say how grateful I am, or how appreciative I am that I experience that on a regular basis. And that's what people, when they feel it, the first time they may feel awkward, or they may feel pain or something, because they're just not getting what they're feeling, right? But when you actually understand that, the question that you're saying, that alignment that's coming together, that's the ecosystem that Rachel's talking about, right? That's the whole thing that's coming, that's opened up more. There are more people feeling it. It used to be we would hear about some person that could, that meditates, and you have to sit in a special on a mountaintop and meditate and leave your family and your friends. Today, we can do that right here in our lives, in our real world lives, anytime, anywhere, all the time, right? And then we have our wonky and our human, because we are, right? It's brilliant. It's this brilliant energy that puts everything in place, and everything feels perfect. And I always experience this, or share this, like, it could be you leave your house, you get the most perfect parking place when you go somewhere. You're driving and the green lights are there. And then all of a sudden there's a red light, and you're okay with it, because it's not a red light stopping you. It's maybe a red light saving you. Who knows? Who cares? Don't question it. So if we were feeling like that a few years ago, today, with everything that's opening up, going into the 5D, or being in the 5D, we get that's where we appreciate our life. It's not about who do we want to be, who were we. It's about, wow, isn't this awesome that we can just be, right? With everything.
So just be.
Just be, right?
And be okay with who we are, and that we're Rachael, what I heard you say is we're way more than who we are. Yet the media or society or peers or our family has conditioned us since we were kids, and through no fault of their own. If you want to go through life blaming everybody, knock yourself out, but it's not going to get you anywhere. But, you know, we hear messages, you know, as we're growing up, oh, you know, you're not a great hockey player, or, you know, whatever. Like, you know, Johnny did better in school than you did. What's wrong with you? You know, so we hear all these messages, and now it's time to sort of heal those and let them go, and kind of reimagine ourselves almost.
Yeah.
What's your take, Rach? Your mic is off, but what's your take?
I know, I was trying to mute my poor little guy. That's exactly what's going on. And I think that's a lot of the wonkiness that we're feeling, is just the dying of these old belief systems. And so something that we've identified with our whole lives is dying, and it makes us feel really uncomfortable, and it makes us want to cry sometimes, or be angry, or, you know, handle it in a variety of human ways. But it's not us, and it never was us. You know, like Rose said, heaven's here. Yeah, I think it was Jesus's words that said the kingdom of heaven is within you. And that's the truth. I mean, who we are, that's heaven. And then manifestation is just a reflection of who we are on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. May I add something that maybe may share something that came to me today about, I don't know how it's expressed, but something about shaming yourself, or others can shame you, or you shame others with expression, right? And what came to me today is about letting that go. And it's the voice in the head. I found that my voice in my head got a little louder in the last few weeks, maybe because I'm spending more time on my own and it's quieter, and I love the quiet. But it's about stop. You know, what you were saying about you're not good enough, or if someone's not good enough, or they heard this or they heard this. We've learned to shame ourselves through everything. Everything. Like, I remember the first conversation about Reiki was in a corner at an event, and you're looking around like this. That's only one part of it, but just shaming ourselves how we look and how we feel today. I'd like to ask people to consider that, whether it's comfortable, or whether they're connected to it, or they are open to it, to think about letting that go, right?
Yeah.
Letting that go, whatever that means to you, right?
Yeah. And this, we have to end, but, you know, Rose, you and I were in a very similar industry, where we're in the promotional products industry, and we did a lot of work with companies around reward and recognition.
Yes.
And I think we're going to have to reward and recognize each other more, to honor each other at work. I think we, you know, that's why I'm learning with Lance Secretan. He's doing these free leadership calls with people all over the world. And we're talking about honor and acceptance and recognition and, you know, leadership. And leadership's going to change. I think that, you know, to me, what I got was, we have to bring sort of spirituality into the workplace. We have to bring spirit, which is, spirit is another word for inspire. We have to inspire, just, you know, and bring spirit into our work, into our life, into our relationships, into our businesses. And I see that as a major change moving forward. Rachel, your take, and then we'll wrap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, so part of us moving into this 5D or ecosystem is breaking out of the ego as we've known it. The ego was great for survival. We needed it, but we don't need it anymore, because we're not in that survival. We are evolving and expanding on a whole new level, on that spiritual level, like you mentioned, David. And so the ego, one of its main mechanisms is to keep us separate. I am this identity, and I am identified by this and this and this and this. And we're dismantling this. Literally, we're dismantling this in ourselves. So as we dismantle this, then we see everybody else as part of this whole, as part of the one. And we're all aspects of this divine. And it's the divine experiencing itself in different ways. And so if it was a whole bunch of Rachels running around, that'd be pretty boring. And so I think recognizing this oneness and allowing all of this stuff that we use to separate ourselves to fall away, because it's all the stuff that we use to separate ourselves that caused us so much pain and shame, like Rose said, and suffering.
Yeah.
So as we let these fall away, then we get back to this oneness within ourselves, and we see that in others. And I hope that this is a more natural byproduct of just this process we're going through, and honoring others in the workplace and recognizing others for who they individually are.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Listening to just
when you strip away all the BS, what's left, Rose? What's left?
well, I just had a moment. I'm listening to Rachel, and when you said shame, Kabbalah teaches, and that's so ancient, right? It teaches that humans came in to release the bread of shame. I didn't put the pieces together. And the bread of shame is part of the ego, and the lower vibration, the higher vibration. And if we actually recognize that means nothing, it doesn't exist. It really doesn't exist. It only exists because we've been told it exists. That we really actually move forward into just being who we want to be and the uniqueness of ourselves. I always talk about uniqueness because I actually humor myself. I can giggle over something that I do, right? But when you take that to another level of just exactly what Rachel said, let's just all be our unique selves, but be together collectively, right? Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel, for that. Yeah, because it just stuck in my head.
We're all the spark of the divine, you know?
Yeah.
I'll share this and we'll wrap. So I was just doing a webinar for youth. Rose, you were with me last month with a different. So they've got a new class going through, and so I was teaching. What was I teaching? Oh, the business plan boot camp that I like to teach, and I was talking about operations, and I said, this is how you do your business, and I sang Barney. You know, Barney the dinosaur? I know, a grown man singing Barney. But I said, you guys have to listen to the lyrics of the song, because this is what's going to make you stand out and different. And it, you know, the song is, you are special. You're the only one. You're the only one like you. There is no other in the whole wide world who can do the things you do, right? And you are special. So I sang that, and they had a laugh. But I said, listen to the lyrics, because nobody does exactly your business the way you do it. You know, you bring your own unique blueprint and stamp to your business. So really honor that. And I think you should leave it at that. Where do we get a hold of both of you? Oh my gosh, Rachael.
All you have to do is think of us.
Barking in the background.
Just call us in.
Call us in, yeah. Right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice and simple, right?
Maybe that's where we're headed. Maybe the Star Trek, you know, Scotty, beam me up.
Oh, we've been there, right? We're there. We're there.
You know, you can't take a flight right now, so you know,
we're there.
I want to go to Carolina to visit Rachael.
If you've ever experienced thinking of a person and they call or they text, you're there. We've been there for a long time, right? Yeah.
Yep. And I've noticed during all this, the past couple months, it's been like crazy. I'll think of somebody and they'll text me right away. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's so great.
Okay, can you think of the lotto numbers I should play this week?
Oh.
But I always say, I win, where am I going?
We're developing. Yeah.
See, a holiday? No. Okay, Rachael, where do we get a hold of you?
So my website is Reiki with Rachael, REIKI with Rachael is RACHAEL.com. And there's just more information about a whole bunch of stuff. My YouTube is Reiki Rachael, and then my Instagram is Reiki with Rachael, Reiki _with _Rachael. And that's where I am.
And anything coming up?
I've been 100% following divine inspiration. So I have not been planning anything. Yeah, I post YouTube videos when I'm divinely inspired, and that has just been what I've been doing right now. So just stay tuned, I guess.
Okay, stay tuned. Watch your YouTube channel, and they're great videos. Rose. What's
Yes,
going on, Rose?
David. First of all, thanks for having me here today with
pleasure.
you and with thanks,
I'm
Rachel.
coming up to Mill Pond this weekend. So.
Okay, all right. You're close to where we are.
Mhm.
You can reach me. Well, you know, you come to the website Wellness Works, wellnesswrx.ca. There's resources on there. I've posted some meditations that I was inspired to do, different than Rachel's, but I was inspired through listening to Rachel's fabulous meditations. And so I use my feel-good meditations are there. And we have great blogs and we have great providers that you can connect with on that site. You can reach me through there. And rose at wellnessworks.ca
Yeah.
is one of my, and we have Instagram, we have Facebook. Also connect with me on LinkedIn. I like it's Rose A. Weinberg. And David, do you remember what the A stands for?
No, oh, not on an A.
No, it stands for adorable. No, but it's Rose A. Weinberg at LinkedIn. If you want to connect with me on a personal or professional level, we're reaching out with that. But through Wellness Works is the easiest way to find me and find all kinds of wonderful providers and resources that are there for everybody to help everybody feel good and grow into whatever we're growing into in the new norm, which is every day it's a new norm, right?
Well, it's just the way it is. It's just life. Now we have to sort of, adjust, right?
Yeah.
And
Adjust.
and carry on. What was I going to say? Oh,
Dial up.
I know. It left me. And
No, I'm saying we're dialing up. We're dialing up
Yeah.
into the divine, like Rachel said in the beginning. Our chakras have dialed up. Like that thing that's going on, the C19 is all heart chakra. But you're right. Once we bypass the heart chakra, it's all in communication in the throat chakra, right?
Yeah, and everybody's
love that.
communicating too. That's the thing I've noticed. People are watching podcasts. People are writing. People are doing, live yoga. On
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Facebook. Oh, I'm going to be experiencing doing Facebook Live on the 9th of June.
Cool. But I found yesterday, it's like I had to shut it off because I was just like, enough. I needed a break. It was too much.
Yeah.
Too much. Thank you both.
Thank
We
you.
should do this. We'll do a follow-up in 2 months.
Please.
And see what's going on. Maybe I can, zip myself off to Carolina. Right?
Yeah.
And just like think it, and then there I am. Wouldn't that be cool?
That'd be great.
Exactly.
Roddenberry in Star Trek, Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
this
you
is
both.
great. Well, thank you.
And
Thank you both.
Watching, thank you. Tap into our Patreon page. We love donations, and so we're going to make this grow and let other people know about it. Have a great day and a good weekend ahead. Thank you.
You too.